Welcome back to another edition of This Week in 3 Minutes. I've called this one Gold, the Financial Firearm. Well, what a whipsaw week. We're all going to need head and neck restraint systems for what's happening in the markets. I won't get into the equity markets right now. Gold's been bouncing around between $13.25, $13.50, somewhere in that neighborhood. Goldman Sachs announced this week they've gone very bullish or long gold. That's positive. I saw an interesting table this week about money supply and the respective countries around the world. What would the price of gold be for their gold to be able to back their currency? And the numbers are staggering. In Europe, the Europeans would need 13,700 an ounce to back their money supply. In the U.S., it'd be 14,700. In Japan, 37,600 and change in order to back their money supply. China's only 21,000. So it makes you wonder. But of course, forgot to mention, Russia only needs $2,368 to fully back its money supply. That's some pretty interesting stuff. Let's see. Monday, of course, the Petro-Yuan oil contracts started trading, and over 10 billion in futures contracts were sold. We'll see how this plays out over the long term, but that's staggering. Getting into why I call this gold the financial firearm was last Saturday. You know, the gun control talk and the protests and all that was at a peak. It was so loud, I thought, you know what, these people simply don't know what they're talking about. They're too young to understand what was the intent of the Bill of Rights. It was about protecting the individual, especially from the state, not just against a lone gunman. But the idea of gold is the same idea, and that's why the U.S. Constitution has gold and silver listed as money and nothing else, is because the intent of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution was to protect the rights of the individual citizen, not the state. In fact, if you look at it close enough, the entire Bill of Rights were written to protect individuals against the state or from the state, and that's exactly what gold does. Gold is a firearm against the predation of the governments and the central banks around the world on their own citizens. And you know, it just baffles me. Publicly stated, our inflation target is 2%. We haven't quite met it, or we've exceeded our inflation target. Like, this is a time to celebrate. Look, that's 2% taken from you on an annual basis. And in real terms, if you're saving in cash, every 10 years from now, your cash would have declined by 18%. 18% in 10 years. So $10,000, you just lost $1,800. And everyone's okay with that? Are you nuts? In 20 years, it's a 32% loss. Now, I'm not okay with that, and that's why I own the metals. And let's look at the flip side. How does gold perform in real numbers? Well, we're going to use the 20-year number. If the average for gold's performance over the last 20 years is 7% per year. 7% return per year is the average. So that means every 10 years you're doubling your money, right? That's the rules. 10% you double in 7, 7% you double in 10. And remember, in another 10 years after that, so 20 years, now you haven't just doubled it, you've doubled it again, quadrupling your money. So that's partly why you need to own gold. It is a firearm against the ravages of central bank policy, of governments, all this stuff. It's for you to be able to protect your own wealth, your own labor, and save it over the long term and not have to worry about all this business going on with governments and central banks and markets and all that. Anyways, that's pretty much my rant for the day. Now we're heading into a nice long weekend, and if you're looking up in the skies this weekend and you think you see the Star of David, you're likely mistaken. The Chinese space station, I can't remember what the name of it is out of control and expected to come crashing through down to Earth this weekend, believe it or not, and nobody knows where it's going to land. Anyways, keep your eyes on the sky this weekend. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We'll see you next Friday. Cheers for now.